Okay, welcome back to the channel, and thank you for tuning in to Johnny's Motorized Bicycles. So, as always, please like, please subscribe. Most important, leave me a comment. A lot of you don't leave comments, and I don't appreciate that at all. There is a link down in the description for Johnny's Motorized Bicycles Facebook group. Feel free to click the link or any of the links or the address, whatever, and go wherever you want to go that's associated with me and what have you. So, what do we got going on today? Well, we got something special in the works. So, it's funny, the video I just uploaded is me giving Bear, Paul, his new bike. 3 or 4 videos before that, I gave him his other new bike, the Mongoose, black and orange. He got into a wreck, someone hit him in a car and totaled the bike, so I built him the new bike, the green bike. Beautiful bike, a lot of great patina on it, running great, blah, blah, blah. Now, there is another issue that comes along the lines you'll see in a later video. Now, I have the motor in front of me. Now, this motor might not look exactly the same as the video you saw that I just uploaded, but by the time you saw this, it will have already looked like this. So that doesn't make any sense what I'm saying. So anyway, I got his motor right in front of me now. So I gotta take it apart. So so Bear's a good dude. He doesn't really know mechanically that much. I'm basically his mechanic. Thank you for the garbage. Yes, it's garbage. Thank you. This is my daughter Peyton. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi. She's here visiting. You know, he doesn't understand what could happen when you don't take care of something, really. You know, like the end result of prolonged problems. So his exhaust bolt kept coming loose. You know, I've had a bike that did that. It was always coming loose. It was just a stinking problem. But he didn't stay on top of it. He would blow gasket after gasket out and then just let it be loose. And, you know, he doesn't ride fast at all. He's not looking for performance, so he doesn't even really notice that it's not running right. You know, it's just he doesn't notice because he doesn't pay attention to that because he rides real slow. He's not a speed demon at all. It's just a mode of transportation back and forth to work. So the bolt kept coming loose. I went over there, I took off the side of an exhaust gasket. There's like the fiber, both sides of it, and inside is like a metal mesh. Well, he had the metal mesh, that's all that was left inside against the manifold and against the face of the exhaust, and he had it bolted down and it was loose. So I went there to put a new exhaust gasket on and put a new bolt in. So he had took off one of the bolts. I told him take off one of the clutch cover bolts, put it in. It's the same thread, same pitch, everything. It will be good and it will work just to get you home from work and stuff. So he did that. When I went there and I fixed it, I put it all together, fixed it all up, new exhaust gasket, all that nonsense, and it was good, I guess, for a week, and then it came loose again, and he didn't fix it, and it just kept going off and on, off and on, off and on, and it kept doing the same thing, coming loose, and he didn't fix it in time. He wouldn't fix it until it was a real problem, like the exhaust was falling off. When it was just vibrating, he didn't care, or wiggling, it didn't matter. He doesn't look at the bike like that. So I'm not hating on him because, you know, he doesn't understand the problems with prolonged, you know, wear like that. So what happens when that happens is on the downstroke, the piston will suck in fresh air, which in turn will make the mixture lean, and when the mixture is lean, it basically wipes away all the oil and the gas, which is what's lubricating the cylinder. So what happened is I was going to drill out the hole for the exhaust because it's all stripped now, and I was going to put in a bigger size diameter bolt. When I went to do that, I was like, I'll just take the cylinder off and do it upstairs, real quick fix, whatever is what it is. I took the head off just to look inside, and this is what I saw. The chrome lining is all gone. It's all the way around, but it's heaviest and thickest right in front of the exhaust, which is to be expected because as it sucks in fresh air from outside atmosphere, it's swiping and cleaning everything. So I obviously can't put this back together. Now, his bike was running. He didn't even notice any issues. I didn't start it before I took it apart because I was just fixing the exhaust bolt, but he said it was running basically normal outside of the exhaust issue. But you could see it's all the way around, the plating's coming off, and it's because the fuel mixture was not right, and whether he mixes the gas right or not, having the exhaust open like that all the time, all that does is lean it out and strip off the oil that's lubricating your cylinder. So it's shot. We can't put this back together. So what I did is I gave him Tweaker to borrow. Since I'm riding Jokester, Benny is riding the Mule. I was like, I have a bike you can use while I fix this because it's going to be down way more than just fixing a bolt, stripped out threads. It's going to be down for a while. I was like, take Tweaker out and you can use that as long as I need, considering I have my other job. I don't have time to just put into fixing this and have it back that night for him. So it is what it is. He's riding Tweaker, and he's enjoying it because Tweaker runs really well. So our goal now is we got to fix this. How do we fix it? Well, I think I'm going to surprise him. Yep, right there. You see that face? You see that look? That is the face and the look of a man that thinks he's doing something good for someone else and doesn't know what lies ahead. Keep watching, because this surprise, this good gesture towards another human being, turns out to be one of the biggest mistakes I have made in a long time, and I regret the moment I say this phrase. Just keep watching, because it's ridiculous. Kid you not. This footage you're watching is from the beginning of November. I believe it's November 10th. The end of this video, if I could fit it all in one video, will be from December 2nd. This took a month to do because I work a regular job, but mainly because it was nothing but headaches. Thanks for watching, guys. Look forward to showing you. Let's get back to this idiot that's on screen thinking he's doing something nice for someone else, when in reality, he's just screwing himself over. Look at this fool. He looks like a complete idiot just sitting here. I think I'm going to put on a iron sleeve top end kit, which would be a 49mm bore with the iron sleeve, so he won't have to worry about any more issues like this. Plus, I think there's a imbalance in the crank is what's causing the extra vibrations, so we're gonna fix that. All in all, we should be good to go. So we're gonna rip this down, take it apart, fix whatever's wrong with the motor all the way around, including the crank and everything, slap it all back together, and surprise him with a pretty sick build. So see what happens. Okay, let me show you what we got. So I broke the motor down and wiped it down. I didn't scrub it yet, soap and water, but I wiped it down. This is the cylinder. As you can see, there is normal plating on the cylinder wall. As you turn on this side, plating is starting to go. It goes thin and then it gets thicker until you get to the exhaust side, as you can see. So there you have it. From the exhaust leak. And any of you that have exhaust bolts that are loose and your exhaust tends to leak, this is what you can look forward to. This is what it is. This was a top end that I got from Mr. Strood. He sent it up, and I used this to replace the one that got broken in the accident to help him out, because he had just bought the bike for me, and Bill said use these for a good deed, and I thought this was a good deed. So it's a shame it happened. I mean, you know, he doesn't know any better. He doesn't realize the ramifications of not keeping your exhaust tight, but hopefully all of you can learn something from this, because that stinks. Also, he was talking about a bad vibration, so I am actually replacing his crank with a new crank. This is a brand new one. I ordered 2 of them in the mail. This is one of them, an AF80. His was also an AF80. The crank that was in his was out of this original motor way back when that overheated and blew up and what have you. So I decided to I'm gonna put a brand new one in there, and it is what it is. I'll check for true, make sure it's not wobbling and stuff, but I think that should alleviate the issue with the vibrations. That's it. I just gotta scrub all this down with soapy water, get it as clean as I can so I can handle it without gloves, and then we can start reassembling, obviously after I clean up all the mating surfaces and stuff. I didn't use a gasket. I only used Moto Seal, Ultra Gray, whatever you want to call it. And it worked well. There was no leaks. Everything was sealed up really nice. So we're gonna do it like that again with a new crank. The bearings are good. I just got to put my assembly lube on everything and go from there. And then I'll show you what we're gonna put as a new top end. Okay, so what we got? Let's show you. We got 2 halves, all purdy and cleaned up. We got ourselves a brand new AF80 crank, and we also have a box. This is what we're gonna put on. It's gonna be a surprise to him. Comes with new gaskets, cert clips, wrist pin and wrist pin bearing, and new piston with rings. It is a 49mm, which means this is a big bore kit, which also means it is, that's right, an iron sleeve. Brandy new, looks real pretty. It's got all the issues these come with. We're going to fix all of that and get it in there looking real pretty like. So that's what we're putting inside of here. We're putting ourselves a big bore kit iron sleeve on his motor, and we're gonna like it. So we are done outside of just surfacing. I think you can get a good look. Now, the business end, as you all know, or maybe you don't, is the top, which would be this side. So at your own risk, do this. I do it because I want to clean up everything. I clean the bottom up because I want it to be smooth and not a rough surface. But if you do that, you have to be extremely careful that you don't go too far and mess up and could cause free porting and things like that. Same with the intake. Now, it doesn't really usually cause a problem, but it could lead into a bunch of nonsense because now you're raising the top, lowering the bottom. You could cause free porting very easily, also known as crosstalk. But there you go. Really nice, pretty smooth. I went a little smoother than I'd rather with that, but that's okay. And then the transfers. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it really good, but as you can see, no lip. Okay, no lip down here anymore. All in all, not too bad. She looks pretty. So we're on the home stretch, so to speak. We basically, you know, we're coming around second. Yeah. All right, I hope you guys can see it, but this is why I do it. See how open it is? Now allow me to show you the before. This is the other side, so it's not an exact representation, but it's pretty close to exact of how the other side was. So can you see that in there? See the separation, so you know exactly where the line is. So that's how much of the case is in the way for the transfer. So I'm just knocking all this down to level it off. You saw how it matched up with this side? Now we're gonna do the same with this side. So you got the before and the after. That's why I do it. Okay, recently I started using a paintbrush maybe 2 months ago to apply any gasket sealers. In this case, I'm using Ultra Gray, Moto Seal, and I put it on the left side and the right side. Anytime you put any gasket sealer on, you should put it on both mating surfaces. It makes for a much better seal. So I just talked to the camera for about 5 minutes and I realized I never hit play. So let's do that again. I just put the cylinder on the case for the first time with the rings and everything because I'm getting ready to bolt it down and do all the gasket and all that. But I noticed when I turn the motor over, before I ever bolt anything down, I always turn the motor over to see if it seals good. Now, I started using assembly lube whenever I assemble any of the motors. I put it on the bearings, I put it on the walls of the cylinders, everything, because it doesn't hurt. When I turned this over with the wrench to get it started, it was getting snagged. I looked at the exhaust port, the ring was going past that, no problem. I felt the snag every time on one of the rings. It was definitely on the rings, and I could tell it was on the transfer. I honestly thought it was on this side of the cylinder, but it wasn't. It was on this side. So if you look real carefully, I don't know if you can see it, but see how this is really black? Okay, because I put the oil in here and because I run the piston up and down a whole bunch of times to see how it goes, it makes the oil a little blacker. And if you look, line runs just into the edge right here where the transfer is. Now, I was debating on just letting it ride and hoping it doesn't snag, but once heat happens and it expands, I think it's going to be a big problem. So what I'm going to do, because I'm not going to throw out the cylinder, because technically if I leave it all stock, it's junk now because that's opened up too much. What happened is when I open up the transfers, I always open up the wall that goes towards the intake so that the flow comes out and sprays towards the intake. But problem is I opened it up just a hair too much, and now you can see that black line from the metal getting worn down on the top piston ring and just getting snagged right there on the edge, right where I wore it in. This is never a problem I've come up with before. The pistons rings, the centering pins on the piston are usually a little more towards center on like an 80 and stuff. I have noticed on the last couple I've done that they are farther out, so I'm thinking it is a common thing for the 49, which is what I've been doing a lot of lately. The YDs are similar to the 80s with being much closer to the center, so it's something I'm going to have to keep an eye on. But to fix this, we either throw that out and start over, which you know I'm not going to do because I'm way too cheap for that, or we move that pin, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this piston off, take the rings off, take the pin out, move the pin over, and put in one of my own pins, and we're going to start over with the ring in a slightly different spot. I feel like it's going to work out perfect. I can't wait. Okay, real quick, I just want to show you. So this hole was a problem. I had the drill bit in the wrong spot, used the wrong size hole. So that one is just far too big. I mean, I could use it with a larger bit to take up that space, but the problem is you need the ends of the ring to barely touch, so it has to be a certain size. However, a small hole right there will work very well for this. This is a piece of a drill bit. I use drill bits because they are hardened tool steel. Point them to an edge. Now, I've done this before. I've never actually relocated the pin. I've only reused a hole, so we are going to try to make this work. I have to beat it in. Hopefully it will. We shall see. Basically what you have here is a fixed piston. Now I just finished putting the dowel pin in, and we are going to try putting the rings on for the first time and putting it on the cylinder for the first time to see if we have any snags. I don't think we will, but you never know. So let me show you. So this is the stock one. Obviously it's very small. When I do upgrade and redo them, I always use a bigger one because I've had problems with the smaller ones in the past. The only issue that I did come across here is this is where the stock location was this piston. It's like sealed on the inside. A lot of times you'll have a hole that the centering pin can just be pushed through on the inside of the piston. This one was fully encased, so what I ended up doing is just taking my Dremel and grinding it down. It should be fine. Unfortunately, it does add a little bit more weight to this side because I'm leaving the steel in there. Is what it is. The first hole next to it is a mistake. I grabbed the wrong size drill bit, and when I went to go put the other drill bit that I cut pieces off of to jam in there, it fit straight in, which means I drilled this with the same size drill bit by accident. So is what it is. That hole is basically no good. So what? So the next one next to it is the final product. So what I did is I drill a smaller hole. I don't have the measurements on me. I think it was 1/16 of an inch drill bit, and then I jam a 5/64 drill bit into it. I just beat it in. Use a smaller hole and then beat in the bigger bit so that it really grabs on tight. So we moved the pin from here to here. And considering we were having trouble right here, this should be more than enough. That's probably going to be about a 1/4 inch, 5 millimeters or so to get this to actually work. So let's get these piston rings on and let's try it out. Now this should be okay. If it's not for some reason, I will cut the ends off. But what I ended up doing, I don't know if you can even see it, it's so hard. I took my finished Dremel bit and I just cut the bottom layer because it was so big. See the shape of the rings, how they're like this, they're concave. Well, when they meet together and you pinch them together in the cylinder, it kind of forms a complete circle then using the dowel pin. That's the same basic radius as the dowel pin, and the two thin parts touch and the concave parts go around the dowel pin, meaning it like seals it up kind of, or just fills that void. So I knew I needed to have a little bit of a relief in the bottom, so I used this real thin Dremel and just cut a small relief in the bottom of the dowel pin. But you could see it does not roll around or move. It's like, here, look, this one on the top, if I move it past, there's no problem. Same with this. It acts the same as a stock one, except as soon as it bites, it has much more grip because it's a little larger. So all in all, right there, we are very good. Now, I know a lot of people, well, I don't mean a lot of people. I know Zeta, they used to put the piston in the cylinder and then put, like, so the rings are in, and then put it on the motor and slid the pin through. But I find that to be extremely hard to do. I put the piston on the motor and then I just squeeze the rings into it. I find that to be a lot simpler. I never put any assembly lube on the crankshaft bearing. That stinks. Let's see if I can drip a drop in there. Got it. Or at the bare minimum, close enough. Now, you don't really need to do this, and to be honest with you, this is something I only just started doing the last 3 builds, is using assembly lube. I used to use just multi-purpose oil, WD-40, something like that, just so it wasn't dry, 2-stroke oil, something. Even regular motor oil I would use, just so that it wasn't bone dry when it started. But I just bought this, the Permatex Ultra Slick Assembly Lube, and I really like it. Plus it comes in a little tube, so it's kind of, easier to maneuver and stuff. So all in all, I really like it. Now, I know I am not no special engine builder here and all that nonsense, but I am trying to take my skills to the next level. So be it. Might be a low level, but it is a level nonetheless. Side in, boom, we're in. It's funny, when you put these on, you can kind of feel when it's just working better. Tell that it's going together a little smoother.
Going together a little smoother. Going together a little smoother. Going together a little smoother. Going together a little smoother. Going together a little smoother.
I feel like I might need to cut just a wee bit off of that. Yeah, it's just putting a little too much force. I wish I could see in there better. You can only see right at the edge. Can you see? See how it's the two ends are not touching? It's putting too much force out, which just means I gotta cut the slit a little deeper, or I gotta cut the end of the piston ring down, which is probably gonna be the choice. Not gonna lie, taking a ring off, it's hard to do with the studs on. So I could either put a bigger slit in that, or I can cut these ends off a little bit. Okay, let's grind them down a little bit. Now I'm also going to put a little concave shape on the back inside of the ring on both sides to make sure it goes around the dowel. Now I'm going to have to put notes. Like if you guys do a bunch of motors, I recommend getting a little notebook like I have and writing it all down, because say he comes back because something happens later on down the road and you go to just slap a ring on, and you could definitely, I could have pinched it in there and pushed it, but you can't push this stuff. It's got to be gentle. If it doesn't fit gently, then you're doing something wrong. Good. All right. Never use a lot of force. You shouldn't have to. And what is getting caught here? Something is getting caught. If it doesn't fit gently, then you're doing something wrong. Something's getting caught up. I don't see what. Oh my gosh, did I move it over too far? Yep. Son of a gun. That's what it is. Now it's too far over. By me drilling that first hole where I did, it then made me drill farther over, which in turn made the hole too far to the intake. That stinks, because now it's getting caught on the intake. Actually, I don't think it's a problem, because it was only while I was putting it on, because it has to go past. The rings don't go down that far when the motor's running. So when the motor's running, the rings don't go that far, so you don't see the opening. If it went down below all that, it would get caught up. But because it's the top ring, it's good. Not gonna lie, we kind of lucked out with that one. That first hole I drilled was a problem. It working out this well because of spacing is just pure luck at this point. I'll tell you what, guys, every single motor that I build now, one, I take my time more than just try to rush through it to get it done. Unless I absolutely have to rush, there's no benefit from rushing ever. But every time I build a motor now, I learned something, and I learned a lot about the centering pins and all that with this particular top end. It's going to apply to every motor I build in one way or another. All right, let's get it going. All right, let me just touch base with where we are. Feeling pretty good, not gonna lie. We got everything back on, almost. Still got to do the exhaust, got the spark plug out. I do that usually until I put the motor on, so it's easy to turn over when I go to put the chain on. Coils in, magnets in, all the keyways are in. The next thing I'm about to do is the intake. Now, I already put it away, but the intake that was on the old motor was a 32 millimeter. So I have to put a 40 mil on this one. This is one of my old ones that I hogged out a lot. So I'm just going to use it. You see how thin the metal is, how thin the edge is. Okay, well, this is definitely one of my old YD100s. I actually remember this one because I went so thin on the edge here. I don't remember which motor it was exactly, but I remember doing it and being like, oh, that might be too sketch. And it still might be, because I've gone thin like this before, and I had the manifold break away from the flange right here as I was riding, which obviously doesn't run. I've also had them break here because I go too thin on the edge here. Whatever, we're going to run with it because, you know, I'm got it and I'm going to use it. One thing that I did find funny, because I preach it now, but if you look, this was not surfaced. And when I set it on the cylinder, can you see that? Can you hear it? It's rocking back and forth. Now this surface 100% is beautiful. And honestly, if you look, just from me rocking it there, it was touching here and touching there, and it was rocking and then tapping here. I'm gonna deck this or surface this, so it's a nice, perfect flat surface. And because it's so hogged out, but this one will match up really well with the actual profile of this port. So that's what we're gonna do. So let's go ahead and skirt this, let's go ahead and surface this, get it mounted, mount the exhaust, and we're pretty much ready to go. I'm pretty stoked about this. I can't wait to put this on the bike, fire it up, and just see how she does, because I think it's going to be a nice little runner. And then we're going to immediately build another one of these to put on my bike temporarily.
Nope.
Probably not. We'll probably just take the 50 off and fix that stud, because that's something I really want to do. And then we got to take my bike apart. I don't know what we're going to do, guys. We got a lot to do. I got to stop talking to you guys and start working on this thing. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel, and thank you for tuning in to Johnny's Motorized Bicycle. Okay, well, obviously I can't speak, but we already knew that. So, we have got Bear's... What's up, bud? So we got Bear's bike today, and we are going to put the motor back on it.
Nope.